Russian President Vladimir Putin on Thursday warned of more strikes on Ukraine with Oreshik intermediate-range ballistic missiles if strikes with Western-made missiles on Russia continue. Currently, the Ministry of Defense and the General Staff of the Russian Army are selecting targets for strikes on Ukrainian territory, Putin said during the meeting in Kazakhstan of the Collective Security Treaty Organization, a Russia-dominated security alliance. These could be military facilities, defense industry enterprises, or decision-making centers in Kiev, he added. The missile, which launched for the first time in Ukraine last week, has 6 warheads and flies at 10 times the speed of sound, according to Putin, who declared that it can't be intercepted by any modern air defense systems.
И, конечно, на продолжающиеся удары по территории России ракетами большой дальности западного производства, как уже было сказано, мы будем отвечать, в том числе и возможным продолжением испытания Орешника в боевых условиях, как это было сделано 21 ноября. В настоящее время Министерство обороны и Генеральный штаб российской армии подбирают цели для поражения на территории Украины. Это могут быть военные объекты, предприятия оборонной промышленности или центры принятия решений в Киеве. Тем более, что киевский режим неоднократно пытался наносить удары по объектам государственной важности в России, по Санкт-Петербургу и Москве. И эти попытки продолжаются. Серийное производство Орешника началось. Но в конечном итоге средства поражения будут выбираться нами в зависимости от характера выбранных для поражения целей и создаваемых угроз для Российской Федерации.
European allies are changing their approach to arming Ukraine in order to provide the defense forces with sufficient resources. For example, partners are moving to financing Ukrainian state contracts with Ukrainian manufacturers who have problems with money. According to the Wall Street Journal, this concerns the production of various equipment and weapons, including long-range missiles and drones capable of striking Russian territory. Kiev advises its allies on which companies to work with and what weapons to buy. Then the Europeans independently check the manufacturers. Ukraine will still rely on Western allies for advanced weapons such as Patriot interceptor missiles, but officials say the new approach will allow Kyiv to buy weapons faster and in greater quantities rather than waiting for European weapons to be produced. Ukraine can do this because its defense industry is operating far below its production capacity, by some estimates 30% of its potential, due to insufficient funding, the newspaper writes. Proponents of the new approach say that Ukrainian defense companies not only produce more and faster, but are also able to adapt to the ever-changing needs of the front. It also strengthens Ukraine's military-industrial complex for the future. The new approach has already been dubbed the Danish model, since Copenhagen was the first to order weapons for the Ukrainian armed forces from Ukraine. Norway, Sweden and Lithuania have already provided funding, and other countries have expressed interest in joining. Germany has also adopted a similar approach, while the Netherlands is simultaneously concluding contracts directly with Ukrainian companies. Denmark developed its approach because it, like many allies, has already transferred nearly all of its weapons to Kyiv, officials say. The group also includes the Netherlands, Sweden, Norway and the Baltic states. The model is part of a broader effort by Nordic and Baltic states. The model is part of a broader effort by Nordic and Baltic countries to consolidate cooperation in support of Ukraine. It comes after France, Germany and other major countries failed to unite the continent around a coherent plan. And as Europe braces for a Trump administration that could reduce US involvement on the continent, the Wall Street Journal explains, Ukraine has a well-developed arms-making capability and is developing technologies to meet its needs faster than foreign companies can, said Eric Ciaramella, a senior fellow in the Russia and Eurasia program at the Carnegie Endowment. Ukraine was the heart of the Soviet defense industrial base, so they have a lot of know-how when it comes to producing complex systems, he said. He's also convinced that such an approach will help ensure Ukraine's long-term self-sufficiency. Many arms manufacturers say they can increase capacity if they have more production contracts. However, in wartime conditions, there is a ban on arms exports. Although the Ukrainian armed forces are the only client of this sector, Ukraine has limited resources to purchase weapons. The Minister of Strategic Industries of Ukraine, Oleksandr Kamyshin, said that $6 billion will be spent on this year. In Kursk region, the Ukrainian armed forces are waging a war similar in tactics to the actions of partisan detachments, and thanks to this, they are confronting an enemy that is 10 times larger in numbers and control a considerable territory. This was stated by retired Major Alexei Getman, a veteran of the Russian-Ukrainian war, on air at Kiev 24, commenting on the dynamic and maneuverable war of Ukrainian forces on the territory of the Russian Federation. The enemy is trying to engage our units because they outnumber us by 3 to 10 times. It is pointless to engage in battle somewhere in a field or in a forest without fortifications with an enemy that outnumbers you by 10 times. This is why we avoid it. It can be compared rather to a guerrilla war. It is not a guerrilla war. It is simply a tactic similar to the actions of guerrilla units, the military expert said. According to Getman, the Russians are unlikely to be able to fulfill the order of the head of the Kremlin, Vladimir Putin, to recapture Kursk region by January the 20th, 2025, unless they significantly increase their forces there. This is not the first task that Putin has given with the deadline for liberating Kursk region. It was before October the 1st, before November the 1st, before the New Year, then before February the 1st. Now they have adjusted it to January the 20th. Will it work or not? We hope it will not work. With the forces and means that the Russians have there now, I think it will not work. If they involve some other forces, then the advantage will not be 10 times, but 20 times. Then there is no particular point in Ukrainian forces holding on there. However, he does not rule out that the Russian Federation could increase its forces in the Kursk region several times. Getman explained the importance of returning these territories for Putin, calling our control over Russian territories a significant trump card in the event of negotiations to stop the war. That is why Putin is very serious about such a stretch. He will throw in all additional forces. I think that the fighting in Kursk will intensify, and it is quite possible that the Russians will add significant forces there. There may not be 45,000, but 100 to 150,000. Because for Putin, it is extremely impossible for our military to remain on the territory of the Russian Federation during a possible truce, Getman said.